used to tell people my job in my previous life was to tell multi-billion-dollar companies you don't want our services. I don't get into any kind of business proposition or job or whatever you want to say without knowing the exit plan first.
Hello, everyone. Sean Kirk again with AI Trade Lift. I've got another fascinating business owner in the trades industry that I'd like to bring into this podcast, have him share his story, how he got into what he is doing now, and how is it going, what barriers and challenges that he's had. And what I have here is Matt Mclntyre. Matt has a company called Green Home Solutions. And I'd love for you to tell me a little bit. You're in the Grand Rapids area. Is that right, Matt?
Grand Rapids, Michigan,
Okay,
yeah.
good. So can you give me kind of a short brief of like what is Green Home Solutions and, what do you guys do? Who do you serve? And the kind of problems you guys deal with?
Sure. Green Home Solutions is a mold inspection, remediation, odor remediation, indoor air quality testing, encapsulation. I could go on, but you purchase a home. It's your biggest purchase. You spend over 80% of your time there, and people are starting to realize that they want to go home and they want to be relaxed. They want to have good air quality. They want it to be their sanctuary. And that's kind of where Green Home fits is in that space to help people. How I say it is people have a gut feeling about their air quality, and then they call me or they call someone, and then I take that gut feeling, I apply science and numbers to it, walk them through the process, and then they're happy. They feel good again on the other side. And that's kind of what my job is. So.
Well, excellent. So, like, if someone were to call you and you were to come out, what kinds of things might you do?
So usually what happens is folks call or email or text, and they say, "Hey, I think that I have a mold problem. We've got some water in the basement, upstairs, attic, wherever. I'd like for you to come out and just have a look." And what they're really saying is, please listen to my story. Please hear me. Please be
Yeah,
empathetic.
makes sense.
And that's so we go out, we listen, we talk. It's a lot of information gathering. It's a lot of interpersonal space and building. And then what we'll do is we use some science. We'll collect some air samples. We'll collect some swabs, perhaps a bunch of other technology, and we get those results. And then we review the results with the clients. That's basically step one. So.
Okay. So then it seems like their concern or worry or something doesn't seem right, or since I moved into this home, I have sinus problems every morning or something like that. Some kind of red flag that stands out, and they're thinking they have a sick home.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good point. It could be some of that. I remind them that I'm not a doctor. And so what I can do is I can take their concerns there and I can turn them into numbers that they can take to a doctor. We've had multiple clients who go into doctors and they just allergists and that, and we just don't know what's going on. And the
Yeah.
allergist tests the person,
Hmm.
which is what they're supposed to do. And then the allergist says, "Hey, why don't you, after the person, they can't figure out what's going on with the person, why don't we test your home?" And then that's where another way that they'll contact me. And then we test the home and they take the results to the allergist. And the allergist says, "Oh, well, right there, you've got mold, and mold is everywhere. It's, we wouldn't be alive if mold hadn't came on the scene 4 billion years ago. So, it's
Right.
around and it helps.
Some of it's good.
Some of it is good. Yes,
Some of it
absolutely.
is good. Good. Now you spent like 27 years in kind of like transportation, logistics, and kind of an ops guy, right? So tell me a little bit about that and what led you to the Green Home Solution.
Yeah, I graduated from Central Michigan University with a major in supply chain logistics, and I did that for 27 years. I was account manager, ops manager for various companies, and I was contacted by a coach via LinkedIn saying, "Hey, have you ever thought about owning your own business, either franchise or anything?" And I said, "Yeah." He had an approach, a scientific approach, a process to kind of get at the basis of what makes me tick. And so I kind of like to say that I found this in reverse. I didn't go into it saying, I want to test air quality. I want to be a mold remediator. I love odors, that kind of stuff. I went into it saying I like to help people. I do like science. I like to hear people's stories, and I do want to own my own business. So, I kind of clicked through some things, and this is the one that really clicked all 4 or 5 boxes. So, yeah, I think I found it as like in reverse rather than, kind of the other
Yeah.
forward, I guess.
like I'm looking for a business that makes me money, but it kind of has to align with kind of what makes you tick, and I would also imagine that there's something to, your background and, Six Sigma trained and to actually have systems. Like there's actually a system. And so what you got into, you did share with me on kind of our intro podcast call that there's systems within what you do that allow the operations to run more smoothly. There's no perfect organization, but more smoothly. Can you share
No,
anything about what kind of things are connected or involved that makes the job flow easier?
what I like is I've got a set number of processes. I've got a set number of resources. I've got a set number of chemicals, of people that I can reach out to, and training in that. And if you take all of that, all of those, and you multiply them out, you get a very large number of solutions
Mm-hmm.
that you can help people with. And so I like to have kind of a catalog of all of those and then go pull from the catalog given a scientific process, given that we're following the numbers with recommendations, training, and that kind of stuff. So it's not open-ended.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's been plenty of times that I've told people, you know what, if you put a fan in the window, that's going to solve what you need to solve. And those people, I listen to, and I'm just as empathetic with them as I am with folks that spend, money to have me remediate their mold or their odor. So.
Good. Now, I understand that this is a relatively new business that you've gotten yourself into. You said you're twice as, how did you put it? Twice as busy as you should be, but half as busy as you want. But what has this first year in this new venture? What are you learning so far?
The power of connection of people, and not just clients that potential clients that get in touch with me, but building a network of folks that can help me sell when I'm not even selling, or help me find clients when I'm not even looking. And so it's that basis, kind of the Better Business Bureaus, the Chamber of Commerce's, those types of things. And so if I have eyes and ears of thousands of people, thousands of connections, I can leverage that along with internet searching and that kind of stuff. And then kind of, when they call,
Mm-hmm.
how do I land that? And so that's what I'm learning. I'm also learning that I should have been doing a whole bunch of things a long time ago, but it's new and it's exciting and I love it. So
Yeah, well, and that's great, because I always say like the School of Hard Knocks has a pretty high tuition, right? And it's like, I don't do it on my own. Like sometimes you just need help, right? And so connecting up to an organization that's been there, done that, and at least 80% of what you run into, someone's fallen into that hole and dug their way out and maybe put out an SOP to how to handle that or keep from falling in the hole, right? So, that there are some big advantages to connecting up. So the organization you had shared has been Green Home Solutions. They've been very supportive of you from what you shared with me.
they have. I've got I've got a great support company behind me. So I didn't realize in corporate America or the global corporate just kind of the delineation between sales, ops, and then the support that goes on. And I see really that there is a business behind my business that if when I'm successful, they're successful. So yeah, they've been supportive. So.
Very good. Good. So now, what are you doing to kind of get your name out in Western Michigan, right? How are you getting the word out?
Yeah,
Mhm.
great question.
Yeah.
So started with internet searching, internet presence and that. So SEO, I learned what that was a couple of months ago. So that was nice. But so just kind of to build up on the internet searching. And now I'm phasing into people, doctors, real estate agents, home inspectors, and that. So people
Uh-huh.
that touch the areas
Connections.
and see
That's
the
right.
things that I need to get out and see that people want me to see. So to kind of two buckets there: the homes, the physical homes that people go in, and then the people that live in those homes. Right. Really, those are the two things, and thankfully I don't have many more buckets, but I have those two main
Yeah.
buckets.
I would also think like realtors would probably be a
Yep.
strong connection to build,
Yep.
for sure. People want to put their home on the market, but got to handle something first, kind of thing.
And with absolutely, and with realtors, and I deal with a good bit of realtors. I'm partnered with a good bit of realtors, and my mantra to them is I'm not going to stall the sale. If they call me, I had a realtor call me in the morning 2 weeks ago, and we were out checking the air quality that day, and I had the results back in 2 days. That is information that the potential buyer really has to know, and I was upfront with them on here's what we're going to collect, here's what it's going to mean, and I'm going to review it with the potential buyer, and then they get that, and then they can however they want to use that. The nice part about partnering with realtors is that if you can help them move that sale along, you're the next phone call the next time.
That's right. That's
So
right.
yeah,
If
it's
you're not the
I
block
understand.
to the sale,
Right.
that you support it or remove the barrier to get the job done,
Exactly.
you get little like little gold stars, right?
I hope
And
so. I
of
hope I got a
course,
little heart in their phone
yeah,
or whatever,
yeah.
whatever we're doing these days.
Yeah, it's interesting because we always know. I always say that, like with clients, I always say we always know the guy that we want to talk to who will tell us not to do something because deep down we don't really want to do it anyway, right? So you go, so what do you think, Matt? I think you're a fool, Sean. I don't think you should do it. It's like, oh, okay. What do you think, Mary? Oh my gosh, everything you do turns out great. That's the one I want to talk. We always will search out that one, but it's nice though when you're a can do, we can make it work. We can get you where you want to go. Or I guess, and if not, I guess tell the truth. It's going to take a while or whatever.
What I learned in business is I used to tell people my job in my previous life was to tell multi-billion-dollar companies you don't want our services. And when I told that to my bosses at my company, we had a closed door meeting pretty quickly, and then I explained to them what I meant was that I'm not going to oversell. I'm not going to sell you. I'm a really bad salesperson. I'm a good listener, and I want to connect you with a solution. If you want to call that sales, then I'm a salesperson, but I'm a solution finder. And so once everybody figured that out, then they kind of turned me loose on the bigger clients.
Yeah, that's
And
smart.
and I just use that same methodology here.
Yeah,
Every client that I run into is more important or as important as those billion-dollar clients I was dealing with before because they have real problems and they have a real need to be heard.
absolutely,
So
absolutely. I was on some business panel, and the guy sitting next to me, somebody asked the question, and he took the mic and he said, "Well, sales. People think it's a dirty word, but you don't understand where it came from. The word sales comes from and I didn't know this, so but he says the word sales comes from the old English word sellen, SELLAN, which means to give, to offer, or to lend a hand. So it used to be, like, I don't know, you help me put up a barn, I give you the first deer of the season, and then it's kind of odd. I'm carrying a deer around trying to find Matt. We decided, like, well, let's use gold, right? And let's use silver. And then we use paper backed by gold. And then now we don't have a gold standard. Now it's paper backed by somebody else's paper, right? But it is, sales is help. And if you're an executive and you're managing others, you're closing on ideas and engagement, not necessarily money. But yeah, I agree with you fully. I think sales gets a bad word name when you're trying to put something in someone's hands they don't need or want or will ultimately benefit from. Only one that will would be the sales guy, right? So smart. And then you say something like that to a billion-dollar company who are used to everyone saying, well, these pencils are very nice pencils, but they only cost you 150,000, right? Because they've got enough money they don't even know about it, right? It's good that you're doing it that way. That's smart. And I think it's going to help you long run in what you're doing, just from a little sidebar from my point of view, right?
I appreciate
So
that, Sean.
yeah. So now you have like web forms, you work on SEO, you got some good support from the franchise. Is there any kind of automation that you're running with that actually makes the process move smoother?
Limited automation. So I'll set up a reminder in our ops system, our the one system that does it all, the billing and the
Yeah.
receipts and all of that. And there's some buttons I can click,
Yeah.
but it's very manual.
Mm.
So I'm not leveraging. I've made it all the way to 1993, I think, with my technology. So when you had reached out and you really piqued my interest on our pre-call because I think that I said I'm going to cut to the chase and I you know
You
I
did,
really
didn't
want to
you?
hear more about you. And so you can market and you can do a whole bunch of things and you can have humans and you can have all that interaction. But when somebody is ready, when somebody's thinking about using your services, that is, you have a very small window to get that prospect as it turn them into a client, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, that falls largely on me
Hmm.
today and my employee.
Hmm.
And so what we just had one today where I think we're headed out Friday for a free inspection because there was some wires crossed. And
Uh-oh.
so, you know,
Oops.
you got to just kind of live through that and help people learn, right?
Yeah.
So the folks that I have, the companies that I have do a great job. I just, I'm always looking for a better way, and a more efficient way. So
Yeah, sometimes it's just like you don't really, if you think where that technology is that you're applying now compared to what it was 10 years ago, it's like amazingly different. You have, what is it called? Moore's Law, like every 18 months, the speed of
yeah, I've heard
processing
that.
power doubles or whatever. I think we're
Yeah.
moving faster than that when it comes to the technology and AI and automation. And people go, oh, I hate the word AI, but automation, we've been using it for years in different forms, but that is what we're talking about. But really, it's just, can it make your life easier? And sometimes we don't even know what our problem is. So that's why I always like to have these podcasts. It gives me a chance to speak to guys and kind of get a flavor of what they're doing and maybe what they might be up against. But this is about you, right? And your business and what you want to achieve with it. So where do you see your organization going in the next couple of years? Where's the horizon line, right? Because you said something initially like, when I turned 50, I knew I needed to do something, right? Like you crossed the line, right? That's it. I'm old. Okay. So, tell me where you see this going.
So I want to build a reputable business that has an opportunity to earn all 5 stars in my Google reviews, and I want to, that's what I want. I want to build a business that helps people, and along the way builds a product here in West Michigan, or even further reaches. And also on the other side, allows me to retire. I want to build a company that I'm going to sell, and so I don't get into any kind of business proposition or job or whatever you want to say without knowing the exit plan first.
Smart play.
So if I don't know how I'm going to exit, I don't want to get into it because I'm not aiming for the exit, but ultimately I am. I'm aiming for the exit. And when you work for somebody else, it is as easy. And Michigan is giving you 2 weeks notice or 4 weeks notice or whatever it
Yep.
is. When you own a
Hmm.
business, it's not that easy.
It's not so easy.
And I want to have something that is worth something to somebody else as well.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
very good. It's very good. It's like you don't want to die with your boots on, right? You want to
right.
have maybe some flip flops on the beach, maybe or something like that. But grinding it out every single day. And my past history I'm a physical therapist by training, had a consulting firm for 25 years. I still do that. But I also worked in private equity, and we would buy healthcare practices, and we grew quite a bit out of Grand Rapids, actually. And the thing that was really interesting is like when you go in, and that's what I would do. I would go in and vet these places and see where the opportunity. Basically, you look where the money is. Like, okay, well, that's really poorly run, but it wouldn't take anything to turn that in the right direction. And you look at those types of things, and many of these organizations, businesses, are like the owner is the walking, talking policy and procedure manual. He's the front, he's the face, or she. And if they take longer than 2 weeks, they're going to see a stat crash. And I mean, just how I look at it is like when you get these kind of guys and you buy their business, man, you start talking dollars, they start thinking, I'm going to get a Winnebago and I'll travel the country. It's like you lose the spark, even if the guy agrees to stay for a period of time. So build a business where you're not important to the business.
You
Yes.
know what? That is a perfect way to say it.
Yeah.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
want to be just, I want to, if my team ends up getting big enough and, the territories and whatnot, I think somebody else I was talking with said it pretty well as well. They said, I just want to be the floater for the day. If they need me to do sales, I'll go do sales. And then tomorrow I'll do, I'll spray mold and, just want to be the floater. And So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking for. So
Yeah, sometimes it's like people don't know when that it's time to kind of, I don't even say you have to step out, but just don't put yourself in the middle of all the problems and solutions and put somebody else there. I mean, you got to get to that point in any organization, you get to that point. But I got a client out in Orange County, California, and gosh, I don't know what they do, 30 million a year, something like that, but they're in healthcare. And they've been clients for 20 years. And I was talking to the two founders and they're like, we really want to get into a condition where we don't really have to be here. And I go, okay, well, let's take a look at all the things you do. Good. What do you have to be in the office for? And it was like 4 hours.
a week. Yeah, it was
4 hours
like
a week. I was like,
yeah,
dude, do it from home or like it's that close. It's just, you wake up, you got to make the donuts, those commercials, right? And
you make
you
the
get up
dough.
and you just kind of walk in there and you start making yourself busy or you're the person and go, hey, Matt, you got a sec, kind of thing. And, you become the policy manual. So it's good. You're looking at trying to make your organization more important than you are. That's a
I appreciate that.
smart way to go. Yeah.
I hadn't thought about it in quite those words, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good mantra. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, when I had my physical therapy business in Cincinnati and it was called my name, Sean Kirk's Physical Therapy. Now, it sounds good. It's interesting. It was, I thought doctors know me. That'd be a good way to go. But it didn't take me long to realize no matter who I was hiring, I kept seeing all the patients because it
Right.
was my
Because it was
name,
Sean
right?
Kirk.
We figured out a script. Sean's very involved in a day-to-day managing of the patients. He has the best therapist. If you're unhappy after 3 visits, he'll figure out how to get you on the schedule. And that always handled it. But then my marketing reps, when they would go out and talk to doctors' offices and stuff, they said, is it possible I can meet with Sean? And the doctors would say, and she would say, well, Sean does everything humanly possible not to meet with physicians. I go, why is that? It's like, well, you're really not interested, truly. And he waits in the waiting room too long. And so, but, I only met like 5 or 6 doctors, right? It's not, but it was like, wanted my name on my business. But I think, in what you've got going and what your know-how and your skill set and just that you're ops minded, I'm sure you know enough that you're not going to put yourself in the middle of every solution along the way.
It's I think my ego puts me in the middle of the solution more often than what I would like to admit. And so there are times when I can step back and it's how I remove my ego is trusting those that I have around me to do what we have agreed that they're going to do and giving them ample time to do it if we haven't agreed on a deadline. So
Absolutely.
yeah, if I can do that, I think I'll be able to remove myself. I've always told people that I'm going to be really good at being retired because I can absolutely find stuff to fill my day, that doesn't require working. So
Yeah, but you got to watch it though, because you're still a young guy, right? So when I sold my practice years ago, I was going to lunch with all my buddies. So hey, want to go to lunch? Yeah. So you go to lunch and you're sitting there and it's like 12. It gets to about 1:30 and they're like, dude, I got to get back. I got to go to work. Oh, come on, take the afternoon off. Like, no, I have my own business, but I don't have that kind of a business, right? So I played around with that for about 2 months and I was like, okay, I got to get to work. So, I mean, got to have a hobby, man. I have a client who lives down here in Florida. But he's from Long Island, big practice and big 10,000 square foot place on the beach. And he's doing super well, way better than I did. But he keeps thinking about selling his business. He goes, why won't I sell it? Because you're a young man and you don't know what you're going to do with your life after you get your money.
yeah,
Figure out what you
no,
want to do, whether it's real estate or whatever it is. Figure it out, then take action. Well, okay. So now I want to kind of shift it from kind of you to how you would give some advice to people that are looking to either become an entrepreneur or already in the thick of it. What advice could you give them that would kind of center them and allow them to move forward?
that is
Not an easy one, right?
no, those are at least you saved the really hard ones for the middle. I think for some advice to kind of get people moving first, we'll start there. To get people moving is research laws in your state that have to do with your intended field of business. Get to know those laws and those practices, best practices. It doesn't take, I think, number two, it doesn't take a whole bunch of money to get up and running. Think about, and in a, I purchased a franchise, and so there was a certain number of things that I was going to get in inventory and business and that kind of stuff. So, I purchased a van.
Mm-hmm.
3 months in, I thought, you know what, I could have done that with a trailer
Right.
that cost half as much.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm building for the future.
Hmm.
Maybe I could have had two, that kind of stuff. So, number three, if you can find mentors, within a franchise or within, maybe you're splitting off. They're splitting off and doing their own thing. Don't burn any bridges. Kind of find mentors that are willing to help and send you business and that kind of stuff. So I think kind of those three things are where what I've seen over the last 6 8 months or
Yeah.
something like that
Yeah.
is kind of where I would start. I think your second question was if somebody's stuck in neutral,
Mhm.
kind of in the middle of it.
Yeah.
It's more an emotional response, I think. Figure out why you got into it in the first place. Remember that, and has that changed? Ask yourself honestly, has that changed? Are you doing it because, like we just discussed it, because it's what we just did to get up every day and do it, or are you making a difference that you thought you were going to make? If not, kind of examine where you want to go, and will the business, is that a vehicle that gets you there?
That's right.
And,
That's
and
right.
can you, if not, can you change it, or do you need to divest? So,
Very good. I think you run into the, I guess, paralysis by analysis. I mean, there is a point where you go, all right, I'm jumping in, right? Behind me, you probably may not be able to see, but it says little changes lead to massive success. And I'll tell you, that has worked for me for 30 years with people. I mean, a little change for a small business might seem like a big change, right? For a big, so it's relative to its size, resources, capability, leadership team, et cetera, right? Funds even, right? But little changes. And so when it's too many things, especially if you have personnel, they all get confused. And then you spend all your time with all your attention inside the box instead of out there where the customers are and, drawing attention in business and stuff like that your way. Just one little step, one bigger step, but, gradual little steps and move it forward, right? So, okay. So very good. Now, are you possibly consider other franchises, additional franchise territories?
I've committed to the first year
Hmm.
of operations in Michigan, where I'm just going to go to every job I can and then see where the data falls, and then potentially purchasing other territories.
Okay, good.
I've also thought about it kind of branching out into parallel industries,
Hmm.
so general contracting and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
I've got a general contractor friend who I call, and he's my guy when I say, hey, I need you to go look at such and such a house because it's this. I'm calling him way more than he's calling me. So that is one instance where being specialized isn't helpful.
Right.
Being more diverse is helpful. So kind of those two
I
things,
could
I
I
think.
could see that. I interviewed one guy that had a water restoration company in Boston, and but he teamed up with his brother. But it was just his brother was contractor, so they're in there kind of something floods, the place is destroyed, and then brings the contractor in. Whereas it was just him, and they'd have to go find a contractor, and so they partnered up together, and that's been a good move. So I can see something parallel aligning with
Hmm.
that. And contractors make sense. That totally makes sense, right?
He seems to be very busy. So
Hold him down. Listen to me.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Or I don't know, wherever that would be. Guess all kinds of different contractors might be a good way to go. Yeah, I'm just thinking out loud. Anyway, well, Matt, it was absolutely a pleasure to have you on the podcast. Lighthearted, you're fun. I think, to me, I've always been an operations guy. If you get a foundation solid, the building's going up. And if it's all, you can be really great at marketing, but man, eventually you got to build a strong foundation. And you being ops minded, I'm sure you'll lay that down brick by brick and very solidly.
I appreciate that, Sean. I appreciate you reaching out
Yeah.
and having me on the podcast. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So lastly, how would people find you? How would people find your company?
Greenhomesolutions.com / Grand Rapids. And that's probably the easiest way.
Okay.
And or you can search for mold remediation, or I have an odor or something like that, and I'll pop up there as well. So that's the easiest way to reach me. Yeah.
Excellent. All right, Matt. We'll hope to talk to you soon. And thanks so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks, Sean.
You bet.